most artists today, if I talk to a musician under the age of, let's say 30-ish, 35 maybe, they don't really do fan clubs. They don't really know what a fan club is. And the fan club is the low-hanging fruit that everyone is ignoring. It's like they every single project out there talks about community, community, community. At least in my lifetime, like nothing has ever been more of a supercharged community than the fan base around an artist, whether it's organized or not. And if you can find a way through all of this technology to organize that fan base, then you've created some stuff that has real value.
Hey everyone, Kevin Rose here. I'm insanely excited to have the Mike Shinoda back on the show. Mike is just a phenomenal talent across a whole slew of different disciplines. Obviously, the big one is that he's a literal rock star with Linkin Park, Fort Minor being the co-founder and creator of Fort Minor. Just amazing artist as well. So did a drop with us on Grails, and then also created a collection called Ziggurats, which if you haven't checked out, it's very cool. Has a unique music associated with it, and it's a more or less a PFP with some very awesome artwork. And he, of course, does all of this stuff. So very, very talented artist. And we're talking today about his new drop, which is called WINDCHIME. Now, WINDCHIME is 24 musical loops that allows you, as the person interacting with it, to play around, compose, and save. And also it has artwork that has different associated rarity from dozens of layers of art. All of the art and music was created by Mike Shinoda. It's a very, very fun project, and it's launching soon. There will be, if you're listening to this, if you're a Moonbirds holder or a Proof Pass holder, there will be a way for you to get in on the allow list. And then also today, we're talking to Okesami, who is the creator of an entrepreneur behind Secret Garden, which is more or less the platform that is helping launch this whole thing. So it's great to have them both on the show. But before we get started, one little secret piece of, I don't know if you can call this alpha or what you call this, but one little hack that you can do. If you listen to this episode and you think this sounds great, there is a very traditional method to go in and kind of sign up and get on the allow list and purchase the NFT. But here is one little thing I want to draw to your attention. If you go in and you purchase a Ziggurat, which right now the floor, if you search by least expensive, is around $37. If you purchase one of those on Tezos and you take the time to do that, then you're guaranteed an allow list spot in this new collection. So that's $37. You get an allow list spot in the new collection. You don't have to fight the crowds. And then the price is the lowest price as well at 0.05 ETH, which is around $66. So your all-in price for this new NFT is $103. Pretty awesome. There are other ways to do it on the website. Most people are taking those other routes, and they are much more expensive. So I just wanted to throw that out there because many people aren't really looking at this little slight hack to get this at a much more affordable price. And all you have to do is create a Tezos wallet, get some Tez from Coinbase or Gemini or any other exchange, and go collect that way. And plus you get a chance to learn the Tezos blockchain. It's really quite cool. If you go to Object, which we talk about in today's show, there's some great art, some great indie upcoming art on Tezos. And it's certainly, when you take a look at my NFTs, the vast majority of them are on Ethereum in my vault. But I also have probably, I don't know, I'd have to say probably 50 or so NFTs on Tezos, just because there are some great artists. They're only publishing on Tezos. So it's worth your time, even if you're not going to buy this NFT, it's worth your time checking out Tezos, checking out Object, and just seeing some of the cool art that's being produced over there. All right, so with all of that, let's get into it. This is Mike Shinoda and Okesami. All right, so awesome, Mike Shinoda. Good to have you back. back on the podcast talking about NFTs, my favorite thing. And then also, Eric, first time we've met. This is awesome. Great to have you on the show for the very first time.
Yeah, likewise. Good to meet you.
So you guys got to tell me the latest. I want to hear what's new, what's exciting, and how you guys got together to start collaborating on this project.
Yeah, I was looking back to see how we kind of got in touch. I know that. So first of all, Eric, Eric is known in the NFT communities by a pseudonym.
Yeah. So it's under my artist name as well. So it's OK Sammy.
So that's OKSAMI. So, yeah, for like most people, they'd be like, I don't know who Eric is.
Yeah, that's right.
But they definitely, especially in Capsule House and Secret Garden, they know, and I guess Lives of Asuna, right? As well.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
all of those projects, they know Eric as OK Sammy. And I was at some I was like LA NFT convention of some kind. I don't remember which one it was. And I had been DMing with a couple different people, and Eric was it turned out he was in town, he was in the area. And so we met up and had a coffee. And I was just like, yeah, like the Capsule House stuff is really cool. And I see some of the music stuff you're doing. Like, not very many people are like really, it seems like a lot of the projects are like, developers who are trying to do some stuff with music, or they're incorporating music like through the lens of like startup world.
Right.
And you seem to be a producer. Like, do you make music? And it turns out he does both. So that's the reason I felt like connected to him and wanted to ask him some more questions. And we got talking there, and that was probably about, I want to say that was like March or April, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around.
I mean, not too long ago in the grand scheme of things at all. Somewhere around earlier this year.
And
when did Ziggurats drop, by the way?
Ziggurats dropped at the end of 2021.
Wow. Is it that long ago? That's crazy.
So yeah, I guess it's appropriate to kind of rewind even further. So I guess the short chronology of things is I got involved in interested in NFTs in 2021 early on. I already had a little bit of crypto, but it was nothing to write home about. And I got excited when I saw some of the bigger projects launching in the very beginning of that year. And then when a bunch of people rushed into the space, I ran away. And because I got scared off, I didn't want to be associated with a lot of the cash grabby stuff and a lot of the just a lot of big attention.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
It didn't seem like they had very much.
So many awesome NFTs back then.
That is true. That is 100% true. That is 100% true.
Because you're the one that got me excited about them again. You will retell the story because it's worth retelling. I know we've mentioned on another podcast, but we were on a Clubhouse and you were like, what do you think of these NFT things? And I was like, oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. Like, maybe I should go check out what's going on over there. Then I got into them and then immediately started buying art block stuff. I was like, this is cool. And you ran away.
Yeah, I made the mistake of, because I was seeing music stuff that was coming in that I wasn't a fan of. Okay. And I was like, if I stay here as a person, a little more public, like a larger fan base, and almost like my thought process was I had kind of a lot to lose or screw up by being around and getting lumped in with some of that stuff. So, yeah, while I wasn't able to mint some of the cool stuff that came out during that time. On the flip side, I also didn't in theory, I hope I didn't do any major damage to Linkin Park or Fort Minor or my own personal brand. So I was building some things though. Once I came back in, I was watching some stuff that was some of my stuff that I enjoyed, and I didn't really see anybody taking the approach of the 10,000 PFP approach and applying that to music. So I did that in December of last year. I applied that to a mixtape, and I called the project Ziggurats, and I dropped it on Tezos. The first big question is always, why Tezos? Tezos was the place where many of my fans were already kind of gravitating towards. The main reason was because it was proof of stake. It's a green chain, very low gas, very low cost, and there was such a huge artist community. As anybody who collects on Tezos knows now, like it's almost like your favorite indie label. Like it's just very artist friendly and artist centric. So I wanted to be there. Dropped out in the end of last year, at the end of last year. And oh yeah, there's the art. That's actually at ziggurats.xyz, Ziggurats.
This was a great project, by the way.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. The accompanying music is awesome. Like, it was really well done. And I love that this is obviously, before Ethereum went green.
Right.
On a green chain, which I think was really wise. And there was there still is this whole indie movement on Tezos, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And keep in mind, each of these NFTs is it's a mixtape. I mean, it's a 7-minute audio track with different in the same way that any of your other NFT collections are built from layers to create the art. These are built from music layers and art layers to create the music and the art. So every single track, every single audio track is different, and every single obviously character is different, built from different traits. So to get one of those, just to be like, I have Ethereum oriented folks asking me all the time, like, okay, but I don't do anything on Tezos. Like, is it, I don't even know what that is. It's actually like, it's just that you don't remember all the way back to downloading your MetaMask and like doing that for the first time. It's exactly the same thing. You download a Temple wallet or a Kukai wallet, throw some Tezos in there from Coinbase, and you're ready to go to, in this case, object.com, objkt.com, and pick out an NFT. So it's literally like, I don't know, 5 minutes.
This was pre CC0 summer when Xcopy and others broke the internet by going all CC0. Could we wade into that for a second? Like, if in retrospect, I don't know what license you applied to all of this, but would you ever embrace that? Would you ever do anything in the CC0 world?
That's a great question. I think I'm not closed to it, but all of the ideas that I've had so far get into dangerous territory if I hand over copyrights to the holders in any like meaningful way. If I give it to them, because it's not controlled by a DAO, and because it's so closely related to my name and my brand, very quickly, the example I always give is like, if I make a track like Ziggurats where my voice is literally on it, and then that is purchased by a like racist, violent militia, to use as their theme song, like I can't control that, and I can't say no to that. The community, like 99.9% of the community could say, we hate this and please don't do it. And that holder, if they don't give a crap, they're just like, sorry.
It is the edge case everyone uses. By the way, if it's used by some violent racist militia, there's a good chance you probably couldn't do anything anyway, even if it was copyrighted, because like, they're going to be crazy.
By the way, as an artist who's had to send cease and desist to the biggest names on the internet,
you would know better than anyone.
Literally had to send multiple cease and desist to different people for using our stuff. And at the end of the day, even if you get into a situation where they kind of keep using it, at least you know that when push comes to shove, you can take them to court and force their hand. And that's worth something. I mean, especially when it comes to your love and your passion, your art, your things that you really care about. Like for me, like kind of my identity is wrapped up in this stuff. Like who are you?
And your voice is on it. Like to your point, like that's it's pretty clear it's you. Like you can just hear it, so. And then someone will figure out a decade from now how to train the AI based on that CC0 voice, and then they'll make it duplicate you. And
by the way, like the other part of it, which gets we being so deep in the space, like we forget about sometimes, is that the average person doesn't know the first thing about anything we're talking about. Like all they would know is that they saw, like a violent uprising in their town, and it was represented in connection with your name or face or whatever. Like
Right.
they have no idea about an NFT with a commercial license. They don't know or care about any of that. If you're, I mean, going back to the days of like Marilyn Manson and Eminem, when there were, there's violence at schools, and they would say on the news, this violent person was listening to Marilyn Manson or Eminem and blah, blah, blah. Like they'd have to answer to that, which isn't, like, in my opinion, isn't fair, because they didn't make, like, they've got millions and millions of fans, and this one person did something terrible and was in that group. Like the vast majority of those fans did not do that. Anyway, so it gets mixed up in that kind of, idea.
Do you remember when back in the day, I don't know if it was Ozzy or who it was, where they would have they'd try and play the tapes backwards, and they'd be like,
that was
satanic.
Black Sabbath.
Was it Black Sabbath? Okay, yeah, they'd be like, there's satanic messages in here. Like, listen to this.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated by that. I'm like, let me hear the Satan messages. Like, but they weren't really there, right?
I didn't think so.
I
totally
either.
played it backwards, and I was like, I would love to hear it. I don't hear it though. I don't hear it.
So good. All right. So that was an awesome drop. That was like, it sold out. People were stoked on it. Like, still,
we kind of took down Tezos.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know.
I remember.
I don't even know how that worked, but yeah, it was kind of. I wasn't that happy about that. It was really heavy. But yeah, I when I minted it, I said, if you look at the website, it says no roadmap, and gives an explanation of what that means and why. And at the time, everybody was doing a roadmap.
That was so smart, by the way. Like,
thank you.
The no utility, no roadmap, like that. You just like saved yourself a lot of shit.
That's what a lot. Yeah, you guys. It's so many people like made some claims about this is what I want to do, and this space moves fast, and you have to stick to it to some degree. And if you decide to deviate at all, the community is going to have a lot of opinions.
Oh, for sure. And they're not all good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
Cool. So that, that happened. You guys connected shortly after that, right? Would have been a few months after that drop.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
And then when did the chemistry start flowing? When did you all decide, like, hey, let's work on something new together?
Well, I had seen this Capsule House collection. And Eric was involved in that with Eric, you should talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. Capsule House, I suppose, was really my entire gateway into the space, as really as a developer and as just a consumer. It's a pretty traditional profile picture project with two artists, Sear Light, and this other guy, Kei Juni, who I do think needs to be equally represented. Both of them are amazing artists, and they're a bunch of like little, if you're familiar with like gachapons, they're little pill collectibles that you get in Japan, and kids will put in a quarter and they'll spin the wheel and try to get all of them.
They look like this right here, right? Like this is the.
Yeah. Well, those are the opened ones. Like in the beginning, they were little actual capsules with a little character inside. I think if you scroll down, you might find a couple that are still in the capsules, and not everybody.
So the whole saga of that, I mean, almost following directly after your roadmap conversation, right? June and Ron were like, it would be really cool. We have these 10,000. Let's have them hatch and develop them into a full like PFP, which is more traditional. And I was just like,
there's one inside the capsule still.
There you go. So they're able to go on our site and basically interact and sign it to basically toggle between these forms. And they basically drew 10,000, additional versions of these, which is mind blowing to me still looking back at it. But yeah, Mike was a community member first. I remember seeing him in the Discord. I'm like, there's no way that's Mike. But we clicked on the profile, checked out the wallets, and I was like, I don't even know how you found out about it. So is it through Searlight maybe?
No, it was Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
He was because he was collecting Searlight. He had collected Searlight on I don't know, it was like a 1-of-1 situation. Then followed to Capsule House. And I saw that, I just thought I mean, you had made a comment about Kejuni needing to get equal props for the collection. I did come in because Searlight was involved, and I found out about Kejuni's stuff because they were kind of mutual. They were kind of this. There's this balance between their two aesthetics. So like in this, I always see these as like Searlight did the background and Kejuni did the foreground, like the character.
Yeah. So
even if that's not true, that's how I think of it.
That's pretty accurate. I mean, the backgrounds are like textbook Searlight styles. But yeah, long story short, we sort of had, obviously we had the context of Capsule House, sort of in March. I guess Secret Garden started to go public, and we were sort of sharing it around, gauging interest. And we hadn't had a line of communication at that time. I just was like, well, Mike's the capsule holder. This is sort of being presented as our first piece. My first piece is with Searlight, the first Genesis Secret Garden piece. And I was just like, maybe he'll be interested, right? It's an interesting exploration of music in the space. So yeah, one Twitter message later, and he's like, hey, I'm in LA. Why don't we grab some coffee? And, definitely not going to say no to that. So, we started talking, bounce some thoughts around, very lightly. I think, you had already just toying the idea of like getting involved in some way, even as an advisor or just, trying to stream and play around with it. And we just, the obvious thing to us was like, if you wanted to make one of these pads, so, maybe segueing into Secret Garden, right now we have this music format of NFTs, which is a completely playable, kind of interactive NFT. And it's very reminiscent of, I'm not sure how many people are going to know what this is, but like the Ableton Launchpad and Ableton clip launching. But essentially you get to make your own music. The tutorials all there. You really can't go wrong. I think the whole purpose of this is that you get a bunch of stems that are curated and created by our artists in residence, and it's all to their style. You get to make a track, you get to record it. Interestingly enough, the whole thing is also playable, like it live. It's not like you make a mix and then you mint it, which is what some people thought. It's completely dynamic, even in the embed of OpenSea, kind of like what Artblocks does. But
that was the thing that I thought was so. That struck me as cool is that wherever you view the NFT, like if you go to the OpenSea page for Secret Garden and click on any of the NFTs, you can actually play the NFT in that window, in the OpenSea window. You click on the drums, it'll start playing drums, add a bass line, add a lead keyboard over top of it. You can actually make a song right there in the window. Yeah. And I was like, man, like, this is something I haven't seen somebody do. That's great. Like I love that format. It was just so fun to play with, but also it made me feel like it's a format that you could apply anybody's art and music to, and it would completely change the experience. Right. So that's when I started talking to Eric about getting involved a little deeper with Secret Garden. And, we're now in like an advisory kind of relationship where I'm helping them out, introducing them to a couple folks and giving some feedback on product ideas. And we've got, as you kind of showed a second ago, we've got an NFT project on the way. October 12th, we're dropping a collection called WINDCHIME. And we've basically allow listed the, We've limited the allow list to guaranteed spots are Ziggurats holders and Secret Garden holders. And then raffle spots beyond that will be for our close friend communities, which includes Proof and Moonbirds. And also Warps. Who am I missing?
I think it's Capsule House, and then I'm also missing one more.
There's some pre-mint collectibles.
Pre-mint and Capsule House. Right. That's who else it is. Yeah,
that's right.
So pre-mint, Capsule House, Moonbirds, Proof, get spots on a raffle list, and Ziggurats and Secret Garden Genesis, which is called Secret Key holders, get guaranteed mint. So all that info, if you just go to Mike Shinoda on Twitter, I've got the info, all rolled out there for you in a tweet pinned to the top. Like I said, like if you want a guaranteed mint, if this is something that you're excited about, sounds cool, definitely grab either a Ziggurat on Tezos or grab a Secret Garden, Secret Key on Ethereum. The price for Ziggurat holders is the lowest. You get to mint for 0.05 ETH. And then for Secret Key holders, it's 0.075 ETH. And everybody else will be 0.1.
Let's walk through for people that don't have a visual idea of what this is exactly and what they can expect. When they go in, you said it's like art blocks. It has some of the similar components. When someone goes in to mint, what can they expect to receive? Like, take me step by step, like the total, like Reddit, explain it like I'm 5, like going through, I receive something. What can I do? What can't I do? Can you just take me through it one by one?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd say the first thing is to know that if you want to mint, if you're holding any of those collections that I just mentioned, again, go to Mike Shinoda on Twitter, find your pre-mint page, and reserve your spot. That's the first thing you need in order to mint. We're not, unless we don't mint out, we're going to do a very small collection number, and we haven't actually established that, but it's going to be very small. So I'd say we're not sure if we'll make it to a public mint. Probably not, but if we do, we do. So the chances are it's going to get eaten up by the guaranteed and the raffle allow list. If you have any of those NFTs, go to the pre-mint from my Twitter and get a spot. And then on the 12th, you're going to go to, Eric, is it secretgarden.com?
Secretgarden.fm.
Secretgarden.fm. Actually, you should, since I even screwed up the URL, you should take it from there.
All good. Yeah, definitely make sure you're on the list. But on October 12th, we'll basically be opening up the mint in sort of phases to allow for our first rounds, the Secret Key and Ziggurats to mint, and then our friends, and then public mint if we do hit that. Once you get it, you'll basically be able to go into your collection, and there'll be sort of a reveal onboarding flow on our site. And we're really excited about WINDCHIME because it's our first piece with, again, unique visuals for every single piece. So our past drops have been a single sort of static image. The idea was, okay, the music and the curated sort of art that you're getting is more audio. Like, it's okay for the same thing to be the backgrounds to be the same. Mike was, we were looking to challenge that. Mike was happily on board with that project, and he's done completely new layers, all new art for every single individual owner of the WINDCHIME piece.
How many were there in total for the WINDCHIMEs?
We haven't decided yet, but it's gonna be small. It's gonna be
okay. So what you're saying essentially is, because of all the unique layers of art that you've created, no two are going to be the same. There's enough unique combinations there that you're going to program into the code to say, hey, if this particular combination, is minted once, don't let that repeat a second time. So as a collector, you're going to get a unique piece of artwork. Exactly. And then on the audio side, 24 different stems. Is that right?
That's correct. So
I think 24 different. Yeah. That's right. So, and they're organized in categories of, like, there's some of the stems are drums, some of the stems are bass, some of the stems are different keyboard parts or percussion. And so, and we've arranged it in such a way that you kind of can't make a bad sound. So it, like, anybody, like your kids can, like, press the buttons and make a cool song. And, you take your NFT to if it's on OpenSea, you can do that just for fun. If you take it to secretgarden.fm and you do that, you can actually record your piece and save it.
Now, when you save it, is that saving it forever? Like, is that cemented into the blockchain and it's done, or can you go and reset it?
No, you can definitely reset it. That's been something so note that we are thinking actively about that. There is something really beautiful about the permanence of something like that. As for now, what basically happens, it gets set as your default mix. So anyone looking at it at OpenSea will immediately have that play for them. But of course, you can go back anytime and change it up if you do want to.
Yeah, that's
okay.
awesome.
I'm going to give you a little piece of like, this is like a little, I guess this is alpha because I think it's alpha just in the sense that, so we had talked about copyright a little with my NFTs. There's an NFT terms page on my website that covers the way I kind of do that, which is, they're treated as collectibles. You're not buying. It's like, you buy a t-shirt of Mickey Mouse. You don't own Mickey Mouse.
Right.
But one of the challenges I had from somebody recently was, well, okay, so I buy Secret Garden, I buy a WINDCHIME, I make a track. Can I apply? Can I reach out to you and say, hey, I made a cool track. I want to use it in my short film. Can I can I sign something to be able to use it in my short film? And I think my answer to that is yes. I wouldn't approve. I mean, it would be the same kind of approval process that anybody would have to use one of my songs in their thing. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody says, I want to put it on my social media, but nobody's going to make any money from it. It's just going to be there. Like, then it's not really, to me, that's not commercial use, right? Nobody's making any money. But if you are going to make something that is going to make money, I think that the default position is you need to work it out with me. And as long as we do that, it works. It's fine. You get approval from me. That's a green light.
Are you sure you want that many emails?
Yeah, here's the thing. I know that by saying that, we've got thousands of people that potentially could do that. We've got to figure out a way, and we don't have a DAO at this point, but we're going to have to figure out a way within the community to have them help filter that stuff. Because I think that what'll end up happening is, the community is certainly they always rally for their favorite stuff. Like, Mike, you need to see this. They show up on wherever I'm at online. They'll always show up and say, you got to see this. And it's historically, that's how, for example, I've produced tracks, like made music for a vocalist who's like a fan. I've produced fans' tracks on Twitch and let them have it and let them release it on DSPs. Like, that's been a format that we've already proven can work.
That's amazing. I didn't know you did that. That's so awesome.
So fingers crossed. Like, we're in uncharted territory, and I'm curious to see where it goes. If I do end up getting 1,000 applications or people reaching out to use my stuff in all these weird things, then that's kind of undoable. But in a smaller, as long as it's a little more manageable number, maybe we can create some cool use cases for this stuff.
That's really cool. I'm curious, have you considered, what are your thoughts on really cementing it in and locking it in? Like, I was drawn to, and I know this is all new stuff, but QQL recently, right? Tyler Hobbs drop. You go through a bunch of combinations, you're like, yeah, this is the one, right? And there's something about the finality of just locking in and saying, I'm proud of this moment in time, this thing that I created. I want this locked in, and I want to be able to have, for me, it's like my kids look back on this and be like, this is what dad made on X date in certain year. Like, there's something cool about that. Is that totally off the table? Like, you wouldn't let people lock it in? Like, you could have an option to lock it in permanently.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the fans would say. Like, I feel like I'm curious what once these get into people's hands, how they would feel about it. I mean, because you could.
Sorry. Yeah, you definitely could. I mean, we've had some ideas already spinning off of the QQL drop. Like, that's been on the on top of mind for almost the entire team. Really would be interesting, and we're no promises, but thinking about these as cartridges for the visual elements, right? Because the whole mix in itself is sort of a seed, except throughout the time domain. If you have something like a unique visualizer that can be generated off of your own mix, and that's cemented in, kind of as like a derivative of these bouquets, which is what we call the NFT. I wonder how much interest that would get, really, to be able to have that finality. A lot of this also, I'm happy to defer to Mike here and any other artist that works with us if they're very gung ho about trying to make this permanent. We're happy to roll with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I was thinking. I can only think of off the top of my head. I can only think of one other NFT I've seen recently, and that was the Grand Leisure collection by Pool Suite. They their whole vibe is like these like retro. They call them leisureists, and they had this little interface when you went to the website that was like an old school, it was like a 80s 90s computer.
Oh yeah, an old Mac.
Yeah, and you choose your different attributes, and if the specific combination you chose was already taken, it wouldn't let you do it. But if the specific combination wasn't, you could mint. You had to choose, and once you mint it, you've minted your leisureist. And so that committing, it was fun. It felt like it actually it kind of made me want to mint more than one. I think I minted two because I felt like I wanted to do. There were two different options I wanted to try.
Yeah, the one thing that recently has hit my radar is that it's starting to seem as though collectors in some collections are putting a little bit of a premium on the earlier committers, meaning like, well, day zero chromie squiggles, like the ones that were minted the very first day, right? The ones that if they have this cutoff point where they know the first 24 hours after Chromie Squiggles went live and Art Blocks launched, and those ones that are in that first batch, actually, there's a little bit of a premium. I mean, it's low number counts as well, but it's also just like they were done in that first day. And I was talking to Tyler about this. I was wondering if the same was going to be said of QQL, because in essence, like you can take your time with QQL and find something amazing if you spend the next decade doing so, right? But there's something about the people that really put in the effort to find that thing that they wanted to mint in the first day. And I'd imagine the same might be true with your tool, whereas people could create more and more complex music over time once they're exposed to the interface. But if you did it in that first day, there's something special about that, though. It just feels
I think like in terms of this format, that's one of the, I think this format is very interesting and malleable. Like imagine if you start allowing one of the pads to be original material that the user, the holder, can upload one loop to their thing.
That's really cool.
Or, or X amount of pads. Like if you could, there's a lot of, you start gaming out like all the different things you can do with music and all the different things you can do with recording. And you apply them to this, I think it gets really fun.
Could you string this together?
And I don't know, in terms of like, does this have is there a version of this that plugs into some of the metaverse applications that you can use it, in your experience in a something that you're walking around and doing and whatever, like if you're having a party in, fill in the blank, can you DJ it with your Secret Garden NFT? Like if you got it, maybe, I don't know.
What's the duration? What's the length of the actual track? And then can they be strung together? Can you have multiple individual contributors kind of laying them out in a timeline and creating a single piece of music?
So, I mean, technically the answer is infinite. They're loops, so you're able to structure them, extend them in whatever way you want. In terms of multiple contributors to one specific piece, I mean, so it's interesting. Not in the sense of like us all remotely working on it, but I think the most outstanding uses of it I've found just a bunch of dudes surrounding an iPad, staring at it and pressing buttons in the dead of night, and just losing their minds at all the different combinations that appear. It's really interesting, actually, because as you talk about, I think the permanence of saving a mix in our case, I think a lot of the things we've struggled with are how we consume music relative to like a visual piece, where there's almost the feedback to me seeing something that I like is so instantaneous, and the bar and the level of attention that's required for music is so high. Even even asking someone to listen to a 30-second demo, right? It's painful to get people that you want to listen to your thing. And so it also begs the question, like, where is the true sort of emotional, I'm going to put in air quotes, value coming out from this piece? Because when I've used it, it's that moment where the people, my friends' eyes light up looking at something that, oh, whoa, I just pressed something that I liked. Like, my taste in music is starting to kick in, and I'm about to spend like an hour on this. And in that case, we weren't recording. And it sort of challenged my own perception of our product as well, asking, like, there's something very in the moment and experiential about this. And I wonder, how we can sort of marry that. I will say it's an open question because, NFTs in the standard format, it's like a collectible, like a coffee table piece or something you put on the wall. This really doesn't feel entirely like that, even though there's a lot of analogs that we can find. And I think it's something that we very much want to explore going forward. I'm not sure if you have any instinctual, reactions towards that.
No, I do feel like it's to me, like the music NFTs is like kind of a joke. Like, it's not, if only because it hasn't been cracked, and all of the like things that people are doing are usually, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. The thing about it is, I feel like there's a lot of versions of music related collectibles that haven't been explored, and the more some of the new platforms and products get created and rolled out, the more the music component will get interesting. Because, like, just to use a stupid example, so many people are building RPG style metaverses right now, whether it be like a play to earn kind of thing, or they're also, by the way, another format that they're building is card game style, right? Pokemon cards, battle card type of things. We don't have a Guitar Hero. We don't have a what's the VR with the Beat Saber?
Beat Saber. Yeah.
We don't have a Beat Saber, right? Like, so once all of those formats start to get explored, and a blockchain version of Beat Saber, the whole new ball of wax. And I have yet to hear anybody making that. So, fast forward a year, I just see it getting very interesting for musicians. I think, like, even the idea of just like common areas for people to go and be social that are music related, online, those I've seen like music festival versions of little metaverses that are like music festivals, or if you've ever seen like Steve Aoki's on Cybers, like all of these things are intended to be social hubs. And if they're music related, then you just start applying, like, okay, well, if it's a music festival, what does music festival merch look like? What does a music festival guest appearance look like? What are the, if you're at a festival, there's always these little like trucks and like locations that have like activities. Like, what are those? Opens up a bunch of creativity for people to make cool shit.
What do you think of creating a platform to help surface and draw attention to the best of the creators that will come out of this? Like, there's a world where, thousands of people are going to go off and start experimenting, right? Is there like a I don't know, I'm dating myself here, like a hot or not version of this where you can like go in and vote up your favorite ones or whatever it may be, so that you can have a celebration of the best creators?
Like a product hunt?
Yeah, like a product hunt, exactly.
Well, I mean, like, everybody loves, like, even the difference. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the difference between Apple Music and Spotify? And I think the major difference from like a really like average user perspective, if you're not talking about like UX or like any of the like whatever the engineering of the sites, like that, I don't know. But I'll tell you from an average user standpoint, curation, the experience of curation is a huge difference between those two things. Like, if you go on Spotify, they serve you basically an open menu. They give you a search bar and a few categories of things to go look in, but really you have to go find the music that you're looking for. You need to start typing in things. And you're probably going to show up and say, I want to listen to this. And it's going to say, cool, here's what you asked for. And then if you finish that, it'll say, also, here's some other things that we think are similar. Apple doesn't do that. Apple's big thing is like, here's a radio station, here's a curated playlist, here's our favorite things, here's your favorite musicians' favorite things. Like, it's all about curation on their site. So there's I think that's a really very different approaches. What you just described is more of the Apple version. It's the more like, what if I go in and the world is too big, I don't even know the first thing to go check out or listen to or buy or whatever. Suggest some things to me. I think that's 100% valuable. Is it going to be just built into OpenSea? Is it going to be built into something that you're familiar with? Maybe. Is it going to be a trusted curator, like the way that we go, oh, this playlist is always really good. Like the person who makes this playlist, I don't know who they are, but this is where I find all my favorite music. That's 100% going to be valuable too. So yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah, there is a world where you could say, let me take the top 15 tracks that I love, Mike, I love, and I want to go and put those out to a DSP, right? And you could say, hey, now these tracks are available on Spotify, they're on Apple Music, and like that's your reward for participating in this ecosystem. That'd be pretty freaking sweet.
Well, I mean, I go back a layer further. Like, I know that a lot of people are like, there's a like a philosophical stance that a lot of music people who are in NFTs who also love music, there's this idea that in the next version of the music industry, or maybe just the music experience, the next version of it is when you find somebody before anybody else hears of them. So let's say you find the next Billie Eilish, the next Weeknd, the next Drake, whatever. You find them when they've only got, 100 listeners or 1,000 listeners. By collecting their work or engaging in their DAO or engaging in their community somehow, you've got time-stamped interaction. You've got, I was there. And by, like you were talking about, Squiggles, day one Squiggles, right? Like, imagine you were day one Billie Eilish. And now Billie Eilish is huge, worldwide superstar. And you can say, well, yeah, this thing that I have in my wallet.
Is that sound?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
XYZ?
that's what Cooper Turley would tell you it is, right? That's Coop's thesis is like, put everything, on chain, put your songs on chain. And by proving you were there first, you not only on sound, one of the things that you can do, it's a little bit like SoundCloud, where when you buy it, you get to, because you bought it, you get to also like put a comment on the track itself. And you can see that, you were there and what you thought about it when you first.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Those are like the rookie cards of that early, artist, right? You're collecting the very Genesis pieces that they first put out. And obviously later in time, they're going to be even more and more polished, better produced. Like it's like we're drawn to, I don't know about you all, but I remember back in the day, like buying like box sets of my favorite artists on CD because I got those garage room recordings, that nobody else had, right? It came with those extended tracks that were those early cuts that were just like, as a hardcore fan, you wanted to have those. And if those were MP3s and you were there on day one, those would be insanely collectible, right? You'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe so. I mean, I think there's limits to that. The world gets really big and messy really fast if every artist is doing that. So it feels to me like there are versions of that. I mean, clearly there are versions of it that'll do really well, and then the other 99% won't do anything. But I think my gut says that the version that all of that, having said all of that, my gut says that they need to have some kind of communal value as well. I think that one of the, and I hesitate to use the word utility, but I think that's what most people think of. To understand what I'm saying, it's a cousin, it's relative to utility in the sense that most artists today, if I talk to a musician under the age of let's say 30-ish, 35 maybe. They don't really do fan clubs. They don't really know what a fan club is. And the fan club is the low-hanging fruit that everyone is ignoring. It's like they every single project out there talks about community, community, community. At least in my lifetime, like nothing has ever been more of a supercharged community than the fan base around an artist, whether it's organized or not. And if you can find a way through all of this technology to organize that fan base, then you've created some stuff that has real value, that somebody will be like, dude, it's the equivalent of like, I'm a season ticket holder. I'm a season ticket holder to Wu-Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's sick. That's crazy, especially if they're active and touring.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, not my favorite band, but I'll throw it out there. I know Dave Matthews Band has a massive, massive hardcore fan club, right? And they get early access to tickets and a whole slew of things. And I have to imagine that's a pretty big revenue center for them as a band. I know it's a big driver of everything they do, which is, I know that because my wife's a big fan, but which kills me. We almost didn't get married over that. It's not a true story, but it was borderline. But anyway, it's fine music. It's just not for me. It's not. I know he's very talented.
Oh my God, I love that.
I might have to cut this entire piece, but he's very talented.
You just go on like, that's the pull-out quote, is you shit talking Dave Matthews.
Yeah, exactly for the beginning of the episode. People are like, "What is this shit?" Mike, why don't you start a Web3 company, man? I feel like you have so many great, unique insights here that, I'm a builder in Web3. I don't understand the first thing about what needs to happen to the music industry, but when I hear you speak on these things, I'm like, why aren't you going and building this? Like, it's so built into your DNA.
I'm truth be told, I'm investing in a few things that I think that I've seen some stuff that I think that other people are already starting, that are getting built, and I can participate in that. I can help out. Like, I do love Secret Garden. I'm invested in a company called Medallion. I think Medallion's amazing. I'm in a fund that it's an investment DAO with a whole bunch of different things. Shout out to Dow Jones. And a handful of other things. I'm advising Coop on Coop Records. And the most obvious thing is the Warner Music Group position. I'm the CIA of Warner Music Group. It's actually Community Innovation Advisor. So I'm advising them on Web3 from the artist perspective. And when I do sessions with or have conversations with younger active artists who are trying to figure out what version of this stuff they ought to be doing, I try to help when I can. I haven't yet had to tell anybody like, this is not a good fit for you. That hasn't happened. So I mean, maybe that's a good sign that I haven't met an artist yet that shouldn't be doing it. There are a couple of people that I think I think like there's a possibility I could see signing artists and like leading them through this and saying, okay, like this is the like Web 2 stuff that you cannot leave behind, because I've seen it work, and like there's stuff from 20 years ago that it will work just as well today as it did back then. And then there's stuff that just happened yesterday that is so interesting, and we've got to incorporate that too.
So true. That's something that I always push my team on as well when thinking about product, what we're building. It's like there's so many rough edges to Web3 that just need to be sanded down. And a lot of the solutions, quite frankly, are a little bit more centralized than Web3 would like to be. Like you should not have to carry your hardware wallet with you everywhere you go when you want to do very basic things. Like there's a lot of things that we can just, it's okay to use Google login for that, or other things that we shouldn't just throw away everything, right, from Web 2. There's a lot of good stuff and learnings there that can carry over.
Yeah. And by the way, we didn't even shout out like Royal. We didn't shout out like Pixel Links there's already like so many people building so many things that I have not seen. And I just know that they're the people behind them are very capable and very smart and probably going to do something interesting. There's Audius already with a huge like user base. And then you've got your LimeWire and your Napster that are relaunching in this with this. It's like there's so much happening out there.
Well, if you ever want to interview anyone for this show and have it as your own feed to distribute and get the word out there on any cool Web3 projects, please, by all means, the channel is yours. So if you want to bring any of your other really cool projects that you're seeing and enjoying and blast it out this channel, let's do it.
I appreciate that, man. I will let you know if there's ever a. I already told you, Kevin. If you want to do proof music, then give me a call.
Yeah, now I would have to. You would have to be the one running that. I could give you the engineers, but this is not my world, unfortunately. So Eric, I gotta ask you, man. You've been involved in so many cool projects, like very, very cool stuff. Where does this drive come from, and what do you want to kind of be known for long term? Like what's next for you after this drop?
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. It's a very existential question, and actually, it's sort of the time to be existential, if not now. Yeah, I was on just pure manic energy. I would say the earlier half of this year. I mean, managing launches, running around trying to get the community placated, trying to, put up fix down servers, and utterly, unprepared, I would say, for the kind of relationship that you have as a more front-facing co-founder, even as a founder. So I was part of I started a startup in real estate a couple years back. I left this year in February, and there I was just a dev engine, right? I was just pumping out code. I barely took calls with other investors. I didn't really have to interface with our customers. We had a lot of intermediaries. Here, I'm literally getting tagged in Discord about, fixes that they need, ideas about how to make the floor pump and everything in between, right? And I'm just like, guys, I just write code. And then part of me started owning it a little bit. There became a moment where, with all love to my artists, I think some of them really haven't worked a job in their lives and have made their entire living off of their indie art, which is outstanding. But internal processes within the startup, team structure, team hierarchies, things like that, I was just scrambling to set up. And it was an extremely, extremely stressful experience, but I learned a ton. And so kind of as I would say almost like 2 months ago, though, it became very much a question, not just with me, but with all my artists of, okay, the market started to slow down. What we kind of underestimated was our own emotional capacity to continue working on, things that we didn't want to work on, right? Mm-hmm. It's really easy when you're getting that flood of positive validation, the royalties are churning. When that stops, what are you left with, though? And so I wanted to pose that question honestly with all of the artists that I worked with, as well as myself. And, truth be told, I don't think really the future of, I'm speaking for the profile picture projects, is, just some NFT purgatory where we're trying to come up with the new wrappers around, art and trying to peddle them to the market. I think there are genuinely beautiful things that we all want to work on. Even in the case of Capsule House, right? Animation is something that we're very passionate about. We've been speaking with a couple of animation studios about getting an AMV done. And that is like my childhood dream. My childhood dream, if you're familiar with the show, Samurai Champloo, is to somehow get myself in the position where I can become the executive music producer for a project like that. And if that doesn't happen, figuring out how to actually just do it myself. And really, it's all like, well, all of this stuff doesn't have to necessarily be mutually exclusive, right? The entire community rallied around, at least in most of my projects, they rallied around the artists. And I'm like, in my mind, maybe this is, a little bit too optimistic to some people who only treat it as an investment thesis. But I'm like, if you guys continue to produce output and art and share it with the community, the project basically never dies. And, you know, I get it. We were comparing ourselves with a lot of other, you know, up and coming projects. There are blue chip lists coming out, like the Billboard Top 100, that you're so desperate to get on. But really, yeah, I mean, in retrospect, that was extremely distracting. And now we get to really sit down and focus on, okay, people aren't really buying this stuff as much as they were in January. We still have a very dedicated fan base and very dedicated community. What can we do that we love doing and we would love to continue bringing these diehard fans on board with? And honestly, all of it comes and goes. I will say for Secret Garden, I have felt, you know, as I've been scaling up the teams, you know, I'm able to spend more and more time on this. This really feels like the closest thing to my heart as a producer, as a musician, especially getting in other producers and other artists who I think, you know, are at the absolute top of their game and my favorite artists, you know, especially after the pandemic, seeing some of them just dive headfirst into that with album releases, tours planned, all shut down. And, you know, the money is one thing, but even getting them to onboard into Web3 with a product that they're proud of and they don't have to feel scared about tweeting about, you know, it's something that they can show anyone, right? They don't have to really explain the premise of this whole thing because all you have to do is to play with it, start pressing a button. Mm-hmm. It's really, really rewarding, I think, to be able to help those guys out. And I've been, yeah, I really feel like if there's the general platitudes of like only focusing on one thing, I'm starting to really hone in on Secret Garden as a product, especially as we go into we're probably trying to scale up within the next couple of months really quickly and push this out as fast as we can, because we have a bunch of artists. We sort of put everything on pause for Mike, and we have a bunch of my other artists who are in the backlog, and I'm just like, guys, we have not forgotten about you. Like we're gonna set this up. We're redesigning everything, and we're gonna get off on the ground running. So yeah, really, I am in a very, very blessed position. I thought I wanted to do music my entire life, and I still do, but I realized I can never stop just hacking away at things and building cool things that I want. And right now I basically have that life. I get to compose. I get to put out fires when we need. I get to think about new ways to expand our product. And it's honestly, yeah, I don't know what else I could ask for. So
it's that startup life, that Swiss Army knife that you are, doing all those different things, wearing all those different hats. You know, it's a lot of work.
For sure.
Know, it's good though when you get up and you're still excited, even in like a crazy bear market. You're like, I don't care. I love doing this. This is fun. We're building. Let's go. You know, that's
it. And it reminded me, yeah, when you're talking about teenage engineering, it sounds like they're just building for themselves. I'm like, man, that seems really fun. So
that's really there's a big overlap with that and music. Trends in music come and go very quickly. Mm-hmm. You know, you'll see, like, even right now, I shouldn't say even right now, especially, you've got like a lot of people making music specifically for TikTok. Like they're making it, they're designing it in a way that's optimized for trending on TikTok. And if you missed your little tiny window of like when that trend is happening, like, sorry, you came out a month too late or a couple weeks too late, right? Are you going to look back at that music in even like a year and be proud of what you made? I mean, that for me, that's always been my like bar, even from the beginning, was like, I don't want to put anything on my record that is not something I'll be proud. I can imagine being proud of later. If we recorded a song that we thought the label would love, but we didn't like, I mean, I'd delete songs for that.
Yeah. I think that's very, very true for me as well. It's just, you know, you can definitely tell. I was basically en route to signing a publishing deal and basically doing 9 to 5 sessions every day with artists, you know. Really just trying to, I don't know if it's too pessimistic, Mike, you can maybe chime in because you have more experience, but I was just like, I feel like I'm just like writing lottery tickets and hoping that like this makes like a meaningful dent in my career so that I can continue to write lottery tickets. And I was like, I appreciate the process, right? This is actually a very viable stream of income for a lot of, there's like a middle class for producers, which is maybe not so true for, I think, some of my hardworking writers in the industry. But yeah, I was just like, well, you know, I have other, I can make money coding. I can, you know, I can like pay myself a wage, even if I am doing like very early startup stuff. And if that, you know, if that is enough to just grant me the freedom to work on what I want, musically speaking, like it just doesn't make sense for me. So, yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I really only exclusively write what I like. And it's really ironic coming from someone who's working a 9-to-5 in tech and being like, oh, the ultimate freedom is music 100% of my day. Turns out that's not actually the case either.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm super excited for this mint. The mint date is October 12th at 8 a.m. and that's UTC time. And then there is a handful. Just to recap one more time, there's a handful of different ways to approach this. If Mike, if you head over,
do you want me to cover it?
Yeah, please. That'd be great.
So make sure, like I said, just hop on Twitter, go to Mike Shinoda, and look for my thread on the about this mint. We are doing an allow list mint. If you are a Ziggurat holder, Ziggurats is on Tezos. If you're a Ziggurat holder, you get guaranteed mint at 0.05 ETH. Just make sure you sign up on pre-mint. If you are a Secret Garden Secret Key holder, guaranteed mint at 0.075 ETH. And then the other communities are Proof, Moonbirds, Warps, Capsule House, and Pre-Mint. And those will be a raffle for the remaining spots at 0.1 ETH. Everything is on Pre-Mint. We're not expecting a public mint, to be honest. But you know, anything can happen. If that is what it ends up being, that's fine as well.
And just so people know, you are just at Mike Shinoda, SHINODA. There's no extra characters or underscores or anything else. We don't want people getting scammed out there.
Yeah.
You know there's going to be 1,000 fake. Although the verified gets scammed too. We've had, because the other people will get they'll compromise the verified account and then they'll rename the account. It's just a nightmare. Yeah. It's a nightmare. Anyway.
Well, I wonder if I can just tell you that the pre-mint, is it even easier to just do the pre-mint?
I have the pre-mint URL.
You want to just put those in the show notes?
We can put that in the show notes, as well.
Okay, that's great. We'll put all the pre-mint information and the links in the show notes.
Yeah, it's just premint.xyz/WINDCHIME-SG, and we'll definitely put that all in the show notes. And as long as our site doesn't get hacked, then you'll be okay.
We made a pre-mint link for every collection, so you can go directly to the page that applies to your NFT. While that sounds like it's more complicated, we thought it would be more like streamlined for people, for the different communities.
Okay, we'll link all that stuff up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, Eric, always a pleasure to see you again, man, and great to have you on the show. Eric, it's fantastic to meet you. Congrats on all your success, and super excited for this release, you guys. It's gonna be a fun one.
Oh, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
We'll talk soon. All right, that is it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you would like to help us out, head on over to proof.xyz and click on the reviews button at the very top and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks so much. Take care.